All right. So welcome to Sheed and T1D. If you didn't know already, I'm Sheed and I'm a type 1 diabetic. So I want to go ahead and get into this video. And what the basics I'm going to talk about is nutrition and what you should be looking for when you're at the grocery store and reading nutrition facts and ingredient lists, just to make it easier to manage your daily lifestyle or your diabetes if you are a diabetic. Let's just get straight into it. The most important thing that you can focus on when it comes to managing your type 1 diabetes is your diet. But with so many packaged food items on the market, it can be overwhelming to know which one's best for you. That you want to keep in mind when you're grocery shopping is what's the difference between a whole food and a processed food, and as well as knowing how to read nutrition labels properly and understanding the ingredient list. Knowing these factors will definitely help you make more informed choices about the foods that you're consuming. So just bear with me for the next 30 seconds to a minute to let me explain what's the difference between whole foods and processed foods. Whole foods are basically like fruits and vegetables, anything that you consider that's just natural, and they have been minimally processed in any form of way. They're usually full of natural sugars, they have fiber, and they're full of the essential vitamins and minerals that we need. And they're considered the healthier food compared to processed foods. So, processed foods is exactly what it sounds like. It's been refined or processed in a formal way that just makes it easier for us to eat. And so, to start off with, number one is going to be high fructose corn syrup. What high fructose corn syrup basically is just an artificial sweetener, and it's just 1,000 times sweeter than sugar, and it makes it more complicated. Like, studies have been found that it actually interferes with our body to like regulate blood sugar levels because of how fast it digests and enters our bloodstream. But you would usually find these in like sodas, candies, and baked goods. And in order to really understand this, you need to understand the way that our blood, or how our body actually digests and metabolizes sugar. So when you're eating something like sugary or starchy, like rice and potatoes, the sugar from there gets released, and then the insulin opens up your beta cells to consume the glucose as energy and to be later on used. But the two main places it gets stored is in your liver and your skeletal tissues or your skeletal muscles. And then what it's usually later to be used as energy. But the fact that like when you're eating something like whole foods, after a certain while you get full, and that's where the leptin hormone comes in. It actually signals to your brain, okay, put the fork down, I'm full, you are full, you're no, like there's no more room to eat, because the skeletal muscle and the liver have been filled with enough glucose that it can possibly take. So the difference between that and then like high fructose corn syrup, since it's an artificial sweetener, it tricks your body and doesn't really know like what to do with it. And the skeletal muscles have a hard time absorbing it, so it refuses and rejects it. And the only place it can get stored is in the fat cells, but that causes you to go into hyperglycemic mode, so rapid blood sugar rise. From there, it actually doesn't trigger the leptin hormone and tell you that you're full, so you actually feel hungry still, even after eating certain amount of calories or however much you ate. And so that causes people to overeat and then later on become like obese or type 2 diabetics. And so where you usually would find high fructose corn syrup would be in the ingredient list. So if you look down at the ingredient list, it's usually labeled high fructose corn syrup, but other names are like glucose, fructose, isoglucose, and glucose fructose syrup. Those are like usually what you would find under. And so the next one is trans fats. And basically what trans fats are the fats that we don't need. There's 4 different type of fats that we do need, or there's just 4 different type of fats. There's a mono, and there's a poly, and then there's saturated and trans fats. The 3 of the other ones that we do need, but your body can make up 2 of the 3, and the only one that it can't actually get is a poly, so you need to get that through like fish, nuts, fatty oils, or even like fish oils, like supplements. But for trans fats, they don't bring anything to the table, honestly, except for negative impacts. And the main common like relationship that it has through studies and research is it causes inflammation. And what inflammation does, or what inflammation even is, it's like a short-term response when you're like injured or you're sick. Your body creates inflammation to protect you. And when it's chronic, like over a long period of time of inflammation, what it causes is like pain and swelling, which occurs in like makes it harder movement. So if you've had like a swollen ankle for a long period of time, it's obviously you've realized it hurts to move. So just imagine that extended. And then also it leads to like higher risks of like chronic disease. You have a weaker immune system, so you're more likely and more sustainable to getting sick or even injured. And then it does tissue and organ damage. And trans fats have been regulated and have been commonly related towards chronic diseases such as like strokes, and the same thing with like type 2 diabetes and obesity. And where you'd find most of these would be in like fast foods, packaged goods. And the thing is that you're going to find with all of these things, they're usually found all in the same type of food. But trans fats is like fried foods mostly, but as well as like processed packaged goods. And the way that you can identify these on nutrition labels or even like the ingredient list is they usually are on the nutrition facts, and they'd be labeled first as saturated and then trans fats under there. But even on the ingredient list, you would find it like labeled hydrogenated oils or partially hydrogenated oils, and that's where you can really identify them. And so for number 3, it's going to be artificial flavors. And what artificial flavors are, it's basically just a fancy name to cover up like hundreds of chemicals. And the way that you can identify them is not in the nutrition label, because usually the nutrition label only states like the carbs, the fats, the proteins, and the sugar content, but you'd find it in the ingredient list. And the way that you can identify them is usually they're under like their color name and then a number. So it'd be like red number 3 or red number 40. And then even like some of them, like they have like weird names. There's like ethyl maltol, which is basically like sugar and cotton candy. And I'll even throw up a list right here for you guys to see. But they even go on to be like sunset yellow FCF. And that's just another fancy one to kind of just say like added colors, added preservatives. So watch out for those, because these guys like added colors and flavoring could have added ingredients and sugars to them, which will cause a rapid blood sugar spike. Another one that you also want to watch out for with the added colors and flavorings is usually be under like tartrazine, and it sometimes is not labeled under like a name and a number, like I said, like red number 3, but it would be literally labeled like tartrazine, just thrown in there kind of. So just keep an eye out for that, because that is another added color and artificial flavor, or flavor. You want to avoid all of these because they could all cause rapid blood sugar spikes and just complications with diabetes overall.
Processed foods are so calorie dense, you get less for more. Like if you compare this 140 grams of strawberries versus 31 grams of graham crackers, you're getting only 42 calories in strawberries and 130 in those 2 crackers.
So what I have here right now is ground turkey, and I'm just gonna read the ingredient list. I'm gonna save the nutrition facts. I'll upload a picture of the nutrition facts, but with the ingredients, the way that ingredients work as well is like it goes in descending order. So whatever is first, it's what's included the most of, and then descending, so least amount. And so with the ground turkey, you have turkey and rosemary extract, and that's it. Just 2 items. You're like, okay, simple enough. So minimally processed, not processed at all. But then what I have next is a turkey burger. So you think ground turkey, you're probably thinking, oh, okay, it's the same thing. When you get into it, you look at the ingredients, and it starts off with white turkey, turkey fat, processed cheddar cheese, milk, water, skim milk, sodium phosphate, whey, salt, annatto colors, which is those artificial colors that I was talking about to like increase shelf life and just flavor. Enzymes, vitamin A palmitate, powdered cellulose, natamycin, turkey bacon, sugar, salt, natural smoke flavoring, sodium erythrobate. When I'm reading these ingredients, I feel like I'm illiterate. So if that's how you feel when you're reading an ingredient list, that's how you know you're probably like, yeah, I don't need this. But then it goes on for, honestly, for like another like 10 to 15 items. And I'll also upload a picture of this guy, and it'll be somewhere around here, probably like right here. But when I'm comparing, and then I'm like, okay, now I look at the 2, I'm like, okay, so 2 items to like 20. I definitely don't need that one. I'm definitely going to choose this one every single time. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit extra steps and like prepping it, spicing it, actually making the patties if you want a turkey burger, or even doing just ground turkey over like a rice bowl or salad bowl. But in the end, it's going to pay off.
So what's going to be a result of a high processed diet is going to be high blood sugar spikes due to processed foods often containing high amounts of refined sugars and simple carbohydrates. You're as well going to have decreased physical performance and energy levels due to the rising and crashing of your blood sugar,
leading to fatigue and decreased energy levels, and then increasing weight gain and decreased fiber intake to lead to digestive problems and an increased risk of heart disease and other chronic health conditions. It can as well lead to mood swings, cognitive decline, and decreased mental well being, all related with increased risk of depression and anxiety. And a tip to live by that's going to help is shopping on the perimeter of your grocery store. That you'll find majority of your whole food and your nutrient dense foods that will help regulate your blood sugars, and staying away from aisles, because the aisles you're going to find your highly processed and the foods are just going to complicate diabetes management and cause rapid blood sugar spikes. And so by choosing a diet that's going to be rich in whole foods, you're going to improve blood sugar control, because whole foods such as fruits and vegetables and whole grains are low in refined sugars and high in fiber, which help regulate blood sugar levels in diabetes. You're going to have better nutrition since it provides you with the essential vitamins and minerals, as well as antioxidants, and helping to improve overall health and prevent development of other chronic health conditions. You're going to reduce inflammation, and you're going to increase fiber intake, which is going to help with digestion and reduce the fact of dealing with heart disease or other chronic conditions. And as well as you're going to improve your mental health, because of the essential nutrients for the brain. It's going to give it the ability to function and improve mood, cognitive function, and mental well being, all reducing the risk of depression and anxiety.
So I wanted to leave on this last note by saying being a diabetic doesn't mean you have to restrict yourselves towards some specific type of diet and cut out all junk food. You can still eat your donuts and your ice creams and all that good stuff, but it's just being more prepared, and having this information helps you be more confident and relaxed when you do eat these foods, letting you know, like, okay, it has this ingredient. Now I know how it's going to impact my blood sugar, and I should probably take my insulin a little bit beforehand. Because at the end of the day, everyone should be eating more whole foods than processed foods. It doesn't matter just because you're diabetic, doesn't mean you can't have the donut. And just think about it like this: diabetes is not a chronic disease, but it's a healthy lifestyle. It teaches you what is good and what is bad and how it impacts you in real time. So if you wanted more tips on just diabetes management or just living a healthier life, check out my last video that I posted about natural health tips that you can literally use in your everyday. And with saying that, subscribe, like. I mean, you already made it this far, so might as well. But I appreciate you guys for watching this whole video, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Take care. Peace. Oh, and before I leave, actually, I'm not a doctor, so obviously talk to you with your endocrinologist or your primary or whatever doctor you see before making any impacts or changes to your life. And if you do, comment down below. Let me know how it goes. Peace.